Um, Good night, everyone. I want to take a few moments of my time to speak about somebody that I care about, cared about. I want to share this stream first before I start before I start talking. I want to welcome everyone. It's a very special moment to me. And I'll explain to you why. Just give me a minute. Let me share this on my page so that all right. Good evening, everyone. It's a rather somber moment for me because today, as I got an invitation today to join a stream, and I could only watch a small part of it. The stream was a funeral service for a dear friend of mine whom I met 1977. I was 17 years old. And my mother, we had just moved from Canopan in Orocabessa, Mr. Putu home, and she had moved us into her brand new house, not completed, only 2-room, partially completed, but we wanted to live in our own place. So as soon as the roof went down, it was time to move in, And so we moved into this community. It's called Wilderness. And don't mistake that word for anywhere that looks wilderness. Where wilderness is, you'd be surprised in St. Mary, where wilderness. We had the full view of the beach, not beach, but the ocean right in front of the ocean. We lived in front of the ocean. I could just walk across the street and go fishing. Or I couldn't go swimming unless I'm going fishing, diving. And when we went there, for 2 years, I spent almost every night with a gentleman that I call Prinz Pulla. And every night is literally every night, because in Wilderness, we had nothing to do other than play domino, play Ludo, watch the ships go by, watch the cars go by that were quite infrequent, but we played music. And the word or the words Prinz Pulla in my mind is synonymous with music. Before I got to Pulla, Prinz Pulla was a big name in and around Orocabessa, all the way up into Gale and Hood Park and Dressy Key and did I say Gale already? And Hazard and Jeffreytown and all of these places, and Mango Valley and all of these places, they knew about Prinz Pulla. And I took it for granted. But after I met Pulla, I realized how powerful of a man he was, not just in the country. We would drive to Kingston with Pulla, and he would go to the studios, like to Studio One. Those. I didn't know anything about Studio One until I didn't know where Studio One was. I didn't know anything about the studio until I went to Kingston with Pulla. Pulla took me to Kingston and we went. We don't know who we meet, But it was good to be at Studio One. And Pulla would make great dub plates. I mean, nobody else in and around from Port Maria, St. Anne's Bay, nobody could get the dub plates that this man had. Okay? And you could name it, because I remember before this group, it's called Black Uhuru, before they made their big imprint in Jamaica, Pulla had all of their songs on dub plate. Okay? Prinz singing, let me see if I can remember some of the songs that we knew before the songs were released. Songs like Shine Eye Girl is a trouble to a man. Abortion. And I knew these songs. General Penitentiary. And then there was Don't Throw Away the Teeth. Don't show I the teeth. Plastic smile can work. And then there's one now that made it big after we had it on dub plate for a long time. The song that made it big was Dreadlocks Coming to Dinner. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Not the Dreadlocks. Yeah, something like that, right? But Prince Pulla had Dennis Brown. He had Alton Ellis. He had the Heptones. Heptones was one of his favorite groups. No, listen, make no mistake about it. The Heptones with Leroy Sibbles and Dennis Brown were two of Prince Pulla's favorite artists. And Prince Pulla was a unique man, because he had all these guys around him, whole heap of different guys, and he might teach them whole heap of things. I mean, Prince is probably the most multi-talented person I've ever known. All right, so much talent. Prince could build the boxes, right? He built his own speaker box, and when the speaker himself break down, he would take those speakers and recoil them one thing at a time, going around and around with those copper wires, right? He built his own amplifier system, the bass and the treble, and because we had to have 3 different parts. He built his own amplifier. And Pulla is a mechanic. And Pulla is a cook, the best cook in the whole world. Okay? Pulla knew everything that a man should know at that age. And when I met him, he was about 42, right? And I remember that he had celebrated his 42nd birthday. But he had these guys around him, a lot of young guys around him. Lobster. What name? Mr. Sully's son. Sharky. I mean, all of these guys around him. And they all were learning something. Sharky learned mechanic. Lobster learned mechanic. I mean, some of them learned sound system. Some of them, I mean, everybody was learning something around him. But we all went out to dance. Whenever Saturday night come, we pack up the van. He had a GMC van. And that's what I learned to drive stick shift on. And so he had a GMC van. And ladies and gentlemen, when the van they pack with 18-inch and 16-inch box speakers, speaker boxes, and amplifiers and stuff, and we traveled. We had traveled in the country. They say we have got a hazard. We start off from like 10 in the morning, start packing the van, 11. And then when we leave out like 2, 3 o'clock, right? Because it takes us like anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours to get to where we're going, where this dance is. You know, whether it's Hood Park or Hazard or Gale, wherever. because the van had to drive slow. But the van, it had an engine there, it could have go over any hill. Completely packed, like completely packed with boxes and all different kind of stuff. And then manned up on top of the box there, me and everybody else up on top of the box. And we'd go to dance and unpack, dance in a the tacky secondary school, dance in a dance hall in a church. Anywhere there's a hall, we would be playing because somebody would hire him. And he never wanted to be on the front page. Prinz Pulla, you would never find him on the front page trying to show off or trying to be the man. Pulla is always, no matter what situation, he's always in a corner and people find him to go and talk to. And I'm always have him shot around or whatever, Appleton, he love Appleton. And he's never been the kind of guy to show off. He is always the kind of guy that he lets everybody else do well. He's not nothing to worry about because he already know who he is, you know? Buzz B, probably, I forgot the name, the dread that we used to play for him one time. I forgot, he's from Springhead. But, you know, all of these guys had work to do when Prinz Pulla, and work meaning training. They're learning something. By the time you left Pulla's, he had guys from up in Jeffertown come to hang out with him at his house, live there, and work, training how to learn how to be a mechanic. And I'm doing this because I saw the funeral today and I feel that I should have been there, you know. So I kind of feel baddish that I wasn't there. But I recall the first time that Pulla really sat me down. You know, he looked at me and he said, you know, you're different from all of them other people, you know. And him say you're different, and him treat me different, you know. He teach me how to drive, though I could drive automatic because my mom, him say you have to learn how to drive. I remember one day I was driving the van, we were coming from a dance, and him saying tired, and him want me to drive the van, and it was like 3 o'clock in the day. And I was driving down with him, sitting over there. It was a, what was it? It was a left-hand, yeah, it was a left-hand van. So I was sitting on this side and he was over here. And we're going down and I faced a problem. I faced a dilemma because here comes a car from the other direction and I'm going fast and I know exactly where that pothole was. And I couldn't pull on the brakes hard because I don't want to wake him up. And I don't want to drop in the pothole because I'm going fast. And I don't want to swerve and go into the car. So I sped up to get around the pothole. And by the time I switched back around, he woke up and saw the car facing us. And he said, what the I didn't cuss somebody. And I had to tell him what I did. He says, all right. He said, as of now, anytime you drive, whether you drive me or anybody else, do not swerve out of a pothole. Slow down no matter what you have to do. Slow down and go through it. And I always do that. I always do that. He says, it's best as long as you see it or you know where it is, prepare to slow down and drive through the pothole, and unless it's something that you're gonna stick in it or something like that, He says, don't swerve out of it. And I learned that, because it means that I must have been going too fast, that I had to make a decision that I shouldn't have made, and that taught me. I never forget that. Never forget that. And I always seem to slow up when I know that there's a pothole close by. And so, but he is the guy who, I remember when I got my first letter. There are two people that I spoke with when I got my first letter to go to college, yeah? It was him and another guy by the name of Zero. I told them that I got an invitation to go to orientation. And you know what Pulla did, right? Pulla drove me to Montego Bay. The first time. He couldn't make it the other times. The other times were tough for me though. But the first time, he drove me to Montego Bay for my orientation. It was a one-day orientation. And Pulla stayed and waited until I was ready. And we went back home. There was another time, when I actually finally got through to go to college. He said he couldn't take me to Montego Bay, right? But he asked me if I have money. And I said I had money to take me down. He says, okay, what I will do, I can't let out the van to go to Montego Bay, but I can have, what's his name again? Papi. I'll have Papi drop you in Ocho Rios, and then you can take the bus from Ocho Rios. When I got to Montego Bay the next day, Papi called me and told me that one of the guys that was in the van died because the van crashed on their way back home. And so I forgot the name of that guy who died. That stayed with me also. And I was getting married, 1982. Prinz Pulla had two vehicles. He had the truck, the van, the pickup, the GMC pickup, and he had a blue Chevelle. I said, Pulla, may I get married, And Pulla's gift to me was the Chevelle. He said, Papi, come and take Leo to Montego Bay to get married. And Papi took me to Montego Bay and picked up my bride. Papi spent the whole day, it was a Sunday. He was even a witness at the small ceremony. And Pulla was always there for me. Pulla was always there for me. So I always loved Dennis Brown, but Pulla's love for Dennis Brown just completely took me over. And I think I love Dennis Brown more than he ever loved Dennis Brown's music. And the Heptones, he taught me everything about the Heptones. I know every Heptone song, yeah? Because he would sit down and play them on a Sunday evening. So Pulla was a good man. Had a temper, but he was a good soul. He really looked out for me, and he looked out for everybody that's around him. I remember going to Portland just to eat pork with Pulla. Me and him he took me to Westmoreland. The first time I've ever been to Westmoreland, I went to a place called KD's. We sit down on a Sunday evening and we eat fish. And we went another time to the border. You know, I was going to different places. There was a place that he is a friend of this guy in Otrius that cooked jerk chicken, organizer. I think, yeah, organizer. And a Sunday evening time, you know, me and Pulla and the rest of the guys would go down and him buy liquor and food for everybody. Pulla, Prinz Pulla, he would always be my friend. Last time I saw Pulla was about 15 years ago. And yeah, I had a lot of opportunities to see, but I just never went in that direction, you know, because I go to Jamaica all the time. But the last time I saw him was about 15 years ago. And I called him up and I said, Pulla. And he said, who this? And I said, Leo. He said, all right. And he said, I come see me. I said, yeah, man, I'm on my way over there. I was coming from Montego Bay. By the time I got there, it was about 4 of us. Pulla had put on a pot of soup with shrimp and lobster and all kind of stuff in it, you know. Dumpling and yeah, a big old pot of soup, you know. I would sit down and play down, you know, and hang out. I missed my friend. I missed him a long time. But he had just this really special place for me, you know. He wanted me to do well. Prinz.